Hello everyone, this is Indrajit Ganguly and welcome to your history class. Dear students, today I am starting a new chapter from your social science syllabus, that is chapter number 3, the Delhi Sultanate. Remember students, this chapter basically deals with the establishment of Islamic rule in India. The early Islamic rulers who ruled over India, basically they are having the Turkish origin. Okay, and these Turkish rulers ruled in Delhi from 1206 AD to 1526 AD. So we can say that the long period, that is from 1206 AD to 1526 AD, is remarked as the period of Delhi Sultanate. And the first dynasty which ruled over the Delhi Sultanate, that is called the Slave Dynasty. On your screen you can see this is the territory of the Slave Dynasty, and they captured the many provinces of India, and this is the territory of the Slave Dynasty. Okay, but before going to the discussion of the Slave Dynasty, let me tell you about the establishment of Islamic rule in India. I hope you know that India did not face any major invasion for more than 150 years after the raids of Mahmud Ghazni. It was by the mid-12th century, Muhammad Ghori attacked and captured parts of Punjab and Sindh. In 1191 AD, he clashed with Prithviraj Chauhan in the first battle of Tarain, but faced defeat. The very next year, he again attacked and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Tarain in 1192 AD. These resulted in the Turkish rule over India. Muhammad Ghori left one of his loyal officials or slaves in the throne of Delhi, and his name was Qutbuddin Aibak. After the death of Muhammad Ghori in 1206 AD, Qutbuddin Aibak established the Slave Dynasty. Remember student, 1206 AD marked the beginning of the Delhi Sultanate, and Slave Dynasty became the first Muslim dynasty of India. So Qutbuddin Aibak established Slave Dynasty in 1206 AD. Okay, it is very important for short question. Okay, now students, Qutbuddin Aibak is basically known as Lak Baksh. Now the word meaning of Lak Baksh is he spent lots of money in the charity. That's why he is known as Lak Baksh. But unfortunately, the rule of Qutbuddin Aibak in India could not lasted long, because in 1210 AD, Aibak died of injuries due to a fall from his horse while playing polo in Lahore. I hope you know that what is the game of polo. So after the death of Qutbuddin Aibak, his son-in-law Shamsuddin Iltutmish became the successor of Qutbuddin Aibak. Remember students, Shamsuddin Iltutmish was one of the greatest rulers of India. Because of his intelligence, he saved India from the Mongol invaders. Now the question is, who are Mongols, right? Mongols are the nomadic communities, and they captured many parts of the country. They captured many parts of the world under the leadership of Genghis Khan. Okay, and the Mongols basically looted, plundered, and destroyed a particular region. That's why many parts of the world they feared the Mongol invasion. So because of his intelligence, Sultan Iltutmish saved India. So that's why I told you Sultan Iltutmish was one of the greatest rulers in India. I hope you know that this is the most magnificent tapering towers that is known as Qutub Minar. Okay, so the construction of this tapering tower was started by Qutbuddin Aibak and was completed by Iltutmish. When you visit Delhi, you can see this famous architecture. The use of red and white sandstone and marbles makes it a unique monument. Sultan Iltutmish also started a land revenue system which is known as Iqtidari system, right? Iqtidari system means, here the word Iqta means land. Sultan Iltutmish granted lands to the members of his army. Okay, and who is holding the land is basically known as Iqtidar. Okay, so the duty of the Iqtidar is to collect the taxes from the particular region, and so this system is known as Iqtidari system. So in this way, Sultan Iltutmish secured the expenditure of the Delhi Sultanate. Remember students, Iltutmish was a broad-minded ruler. It is proved by the fact that though he had many sons, but he considered none of them worthy of the throne. Therefore, he decided to nominate his daughter Razia to the throne of Delhi. Thus, the nomination of a daughter to the throne of Delhi in preference to sons was a very bold and a noble step. But the problem is, the nobles of Delhi did not support the accession of Razia as their sultan. Remember student, because Islamic tradition never permitted any female personalities to become the ruler. So initially Razia was not accepted by the nobles of Delhi. Plus, I hope you know that the Muslim women have to cover their face, right? And they have to wear burqa or hijab. But Razia was very liberal personality. So she discarded her female dress and started holding court with the face uncovered. She even hunted and led the army in war. However, she faced a lot of opposition from the Turkish nobles who did not approve her independent ways. So finally, Razia was murdered in 1240 AD and thus ended the short but significant reign of Razia Sultan. So after the death of Razia Sultan, many incapable rulers ascended the throne of Delhi Sultanate, such as Muizuddin Bahram, Alauddin Masud and Nasiruddin Mahmud. Remember student, Nasiruddin Mahmud was the son of Sultan Iltutmish and brother of Razia Sultan. And during his time, one of the chief named Ulugh Khan became very influential. And Ulugh Khan manipulated and influenced Nasiruddin Mahmud a lot. Therefore, Sultan Nasiruddin Mahmud became a puppet in the hands of Ulugh Khan. After the death of Nasiruddin Mahmud, Ulugh Khan ascended the throne of Delhi and took the name Ghiyasuddin Balban. I am repeating once again, Ghiyasuddin Balban. And he continued the slave dynasty in behalf of the descendants of Sultan Iltutmish. Okay, Balban introduced strict discipline and strengthened the power of monarchy. He believed in the divine right of kingship, and these increased the prestige and power of the monarchy. In order to raise the power of the king, Balban was determined to break the power of the Turkish nobles. So he was very strict and did not even spare the nobles while delivering justice. To keep himself well informed, Balban appointed spies in every department. So you can understood that the contribution of Balban, and he wanted to establish centralized administration. Okay, so his steps were very unique and very crucial. So remember students, another contribution of Balban in the period of Delhi Sultanate was that introduction of the custom called Sijda and Pivas. Remember students, Sijda and Pivas is very important for 1 mark question. Now the question is, what is Sijda? If anyone wanted to meet the Sultan, then he has to lie down on the floor. That is called Sijda. So I am repeating once again, if anyone wanted to meet Sultan, he has to lie down on the floor, that is Sijda, and kiss the monarch's feet, that is called Pivas. This system was introduced by Sultan Ghiyasuddin Balban. Remember student, in this way, Ghiyasuddin Balban asserted the power and prestige of the monarchy and strengthened the Delhi Sultanate. After Ghiyasuddin Balban, his grandson Kaikobad ascended the throne of Delhi, and during his time, a new group of people called Khalji became very influential. You can pronounce it as in a different way. You can say it as Khaljis, that is Khalji, or you can say it as Khiljis, Khilji, whatever it may be. Okay, so Khaljis became important during the time of Kaikobad. The Khalji chief Jalaluddin Khalji killed Kaikobad in 1290 AD and established Khalji dynasty in Delhi. And in this way, a new dynasty took over the charge of Delhi. Okay, this is it for today. In my next class, I will discuss with you about the Khalji dynasty. Thank you and have a nice day.